Alright everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Took the day off yesterday, and why not? It's the silly season, nothing going on, nothing really to talk about. I didn't want to do a video telling how certain players are going to be the greatest turnaround players that the Giants have ever seen, or how certain players are going to be better than certain players in Giant history, and just kind of bores me. But I did want to talk about Patrick Graham for a minute, and I was thinking about it yesterday. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Sometimes I just like to just ramble, and it's not a ramble today. There is a conscious thought today, even though I have these song Girl School from Britney Fox stuck in my head. 80s headbanger. 80s headbanger music. Hair metal. Go listen to it. Great song. At the girls' school. Patrick Graham. The consciousness right now of Patrick Graham is, he is, of course, the venerable defensive coordinator for the Giants. He has been around the league for a while now, and he kind of, he turned around the Giants' defense. And he's going into season 2, of course. And there was some scuttlebutt last year that he could potentially be a head coaching candidate, which I could see. And now the talk is even more this year, or the hype, that he could be the top coaching candidate in 2022. I take this with fear and trepidation. Because of the fact you never want to lose a quality coordinator, but you also know that coordinators will have to spread their wings and fly into the nether sphere and find their way in the world. Like a butterfly, coming out of its cocoon. I'm waving my arms and I have no idea why. Because now the dog's going to bark because there's someone outside. And again, I'm downstairs because we are in the process of moving. So there sounds like we're in an empty house. We are. But I worry because it kind of parallels Steve Spagnuolo. Spags, of course, had been coaching for quite extensively before he became the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2019. Most people don't know he actually even did some work in the European Football League. He was actually he was the defense coordinator and linebackers coach of the Frankfurt Galaxy back in '98. So he had quite a progression in his career, and he was also part of the Barcelona Dragons too. Now I think about it, but he was a guy that was around. He also was at Rutgers, he was at Bowling Green, he was at Maine, he was at Connecticut, Lafayette, and then he had a brief internship with the Washington Redskins, and of course he got the coordinator position with the Dallas Cowboys. And he was there from Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. He was there from 1999 to, I think it was 2006. And then, of course, he took over the defensive coordinator position in 2007 for the Giants. Was there for about 2 years, and, of course, we won the Super Bowl. Good player, good coach, good assistant coach, good coordinator. His tenure, of course, with the Rams was from 2019 to 2011. He had 3 seasons. He went 1-15, 7-9, and 2-14. And of course, he was also the interim coach of the Giants in 2017, won 1-3. He had 11 wins and 44 losses in his career. But he was a guy that's just a coordinator. And there's some guys that are like that. Look at Joe Bugle. Joe Bugle, Washington Redskins fame, had been around the league forever. Marvelous offense coordinator. Horrid, though, head coach. Terrible. Now, I'm not saying that Patrick Graham is going to fall under the same scenario as Joe Bugle or Steve Spagnuolo, because Patrick Graham's his own man. He's been also coaching since 2000. He was at Wagner. I know that. Richmond. He was with the Pats going back in 2009 through 15. Of course, he was with the Giants in 2016-17 as defensive line coach. He's not the linebacker coach, of course, with the Packers in 19. Went over, became the defense coordinator with Miami. And I always said, I never was sure with Patrick Graham if it was Brian Flores' defense or if it was Patrick Graham's defense. Because Brian Flores is of course, he's another marvelous defense coordinator who's actually looks like he's turned into a pretty good head coach. But he had a defensive philosophy. So I kind of think that in some ways Graham was running Flores' defensive philosophy in Miami. Now, to the counterpoint, when he came into the Giants, he seemed to run his own system, which was marvelous. It was a system of, of course, defense by substitution. He had limited players, limited pass rush, a good secondary, linebackers that were late round picks that you hope are going to mature and maturate into into something special. He had Blake Martinez, who he actually turned. If you look at Blake Martinez's best seasons, or best season, I should say, it was in 18 with Patrick Graham, because I've always said Patrick Graham knows how to use Blake Martinez, and he puts him in the position to make the tackles. And I think that's what we need to look at. But one of the things that impressed me with Graham last year is he turned around the defense, and he did it with limited resources. They always say, you know what, you're only good as a cook as the ingredients that you have. I think it was the opposite with Graham last year. He didn't have a lot of ingredients, and he became one hell of a cook. He had a good secondary and minimal pass rush, and that secondary helped create the pressure for that pass rush. And I'm not saying that he is, like I said, I'm not saying that he's not going to be a good head coach. I'm not saying he's not going to, extol the virtues of giant coordinators in the past who become, successful coaches. But I'm saying we just need to take it with a grain of salt, and we have to just wait and see what happens. And hopefully for him that he does get the opportunity, and like I said, we hate to see him go, but hopefully for him he does get the opportunity to prove that he is a good quality candidate for a head coaching position. One other player I wanted to talk about is Kyle Rudolph. I keep seeing articles now how Kyle Rudolph is the under-the-radar signing for the Giants. Oh, he's under the radar. No, with all the big signings, he's that guy that's going to sneak up on everyone. I just want everyone to understand that Kyle has not been the same player since 2018. He hasn't, and it's age. That's all it is. He may not, and I don't want people to overhype this guy. He's going to be a safety net for Daniel Jones. He only averages a reception. Let's see, in the last 4 years, 9.3, 9.9, 9.4, 11.9. 11.9 was his highest average. Before that, it was 10.4. He's a guy that's not going to get you any yards after the catch. Plain and simple. He's also a tight end whose catch percentage is only 68%. So for a guy that's a safety net, he doesn't catch. He should be at least in the mid-70s. Now, I know in the last 3 seasons he was 75%, 81%, 78%. Before that, he was 70, 62, 67, 70, 65, 57, 66. He's a guy, though, that's not going to get you much beyond when he's going to be a guy that's going to sneak under the umbrella. That's what he's going to do. And then hopefully Daniel Jones is going to find him when his first and second options are not available down the field. I, in some regards, feel more comfortable with Evan Ingram, that kills me to say, than I do with Kyle Rudolph. Now, if we were talking Kyle Rudolph 4 years ago, yeah. But at 31, going to be 32, coming off of 2 subpar seasons where he didn't even break 400 yards, and he's had 7 touchdowns in 2 years, and he played in a total of 28 games, and he's going to be coming off foot surgery. I can't sit there and tell you that he's going to be the guy. Is he going to be a good safety net? Sure. But so is Saquon Barkley. Eli Manning proved that in Saquon Barkley's first season. Now we have to see what happens with Barkley when he comes back from his injury. And I love it because last year, you take a look at it. I mean, it's just, like I said, he's just not the same guy that he was. Now, I went and watched some of the tape back of the last 2 years, and I'm not going to say Minnesota misused them because they had multiple set wide receivers. They had Stephon Diggs. But, of course, Stephon Diggs wasn't there last year. And now he played in 4 less games, but his catch total went down. So, and I understand it was 4 less games. But you would think in the earlier games of the season that Kirk Cousins would have been using him more as an option. And I love that people are like, well, he's going to be this awesome receiving threat in the end zone. His highest touchdown total is 9, which he had in 2012. The last 3 years, 1, 6, and 4. So he's not going to be this great red zone presence. You have a better opportunity with Evan Ingram being a red zone option than you do with Kyle Rudolph. Now, I'm not knocking Kyle Rudolph as a player. I'm just saying he's 31 years old, going to be 32, coming off of foot surgery, who signed a 2-year contract. Now, it's a 2-year team-friendly deal, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I think, again, we have to have realism in our thought process when we look and break down this team. And I'm hoping when we get a little bit closer to the season and we get into training camp and we get to that first preseason game against the Jets, which I will be there in the coaches club trying to figure out how to give a fan a ticket to come hang out with me. Probably my last Giant home game ever. But, I mean, it's just, I think we just need to understand what his role is going to be on the team and how he is going to fit in this offense. And let's not think he's going to turn into Jason Witten for Jason Garrett. And again, this is Tim on Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could like, if you could subscribe, if you're not playing new to the means, that'd be awesome.